Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I am Coach along with Lone Wolf. And to be honest, Lone Wolf, I know we had a lineup tonight for our show, but breaking news, I think, has thrown that whole thing out the window.
Yep.
And for everybody listening, that breaking news is we have a new head coach in the NFL, and his name is Urban Meyer. To the Jacksonville Jaguars. This has been rumored for weeks, leading up to this point. So I wanted to get, kind of discuss that, what we think of this, and then the ripple effects and the changes this could actually make to the draft. Because I think this could have bigger impact than just Urban Meyer being an NFL coach.
Yeah, I mean, this name, I think this was probably within 5 minutes of Jacksonville firing their head coach. People were like, oh, well, what about Urban Meyer? I mean, it came up right away. And it seemed like, here's what bothers me about it, though. And this is what I don't like in head coaching searches. Sports, the sports talking heads, which we are a part of, albeit on a very small level in comparison to some. But, a lot of them will come out right away and they'll say, this is a hot name. This is what's been talked about. And they keep talking about it and keep talking about it and keep talking about it. And all these different shows are talking about it. And it almost feels like, the team goes out and says, yeah, this is the hot pick. Everybody's going to be talking about us because we picked the hot pick. But is it the right one? Did you make the right choice? And I know that there's been a few college coaches that have come who have had some success here and there, but man, I really question whether or not that's going to be the case here. Whether this is going to really translate into NFL success, because I think the majority of college coaches have not had success at the NFL level.
Right. I
Chip
mean,
Kelly, Steve Spurrier, you go down the list, right?
If you think about it, the college coaches that have made this transition, and albeit, you could argue Saban has had this level of success that Urban Meyer has coming into the NFL. But look at Saban flopped. Saban
he did.
flopped big time.
Right.
Steve Spurrier flopped big time.
Yep.
Chip Kelly flopped big time.
Right.
Yes, you have Kingsbury, who's doing a good job. I guess he's not doing a great job, in the NFL. Matt Rule, year one, sub 500. Other than those two, I mean, I don't think there's another college coach in the NFL right now.
No, I don't think so.
When people look at this, I don't think you can take college successes and think they're going to relate to the NFL, because it's a totally different thing.
It is. I mean, you talked about Saban, Coach. Look at him. He went back to Alabama, and what does the guy do since he's been back in college? He wins. He's won a ton of championships. He's built a great program in terms of football, and so you look at that and you say, okay, well, that's great for college, but it doesn't translate. You're absolutely right. You just look at it.
Well, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You look at Saban, Spurrier, Meyer. What's the biggest thing that they do really well? Recruit guys
Yeah.
and get them on the same page. You can't recruit in the NFL. If you need a quarterback, you can't call up Aaron Rodgers and say, "Hey, you should come and play for us." You can't do that unless he's a free agent.
Right. It doesn't work. It doesn't
It
work that way.
doesn't work that way. If you need a quarterback, you just don't go find the best guy and he comes and plays for you. That's not how the NFL works. In college, look at the places where he coached. Ohio State. All you have to do is really sit down and say, yeah, we're Ohio State. Even when he took over 2012, Jim
Right.
Tressel built it to the point where Urban Meyer could sit down and say, we're Ohio State. I'm Urban Meyer. I have national championships on my resume already.
Right.
Who do you want to
You're going to get blue chip recruits in
Right.
that situation. Yeah, Jim Tressel, whatever people want to say about him and how he left and all that stuff, but they still had a top program.
Right.
And Urban Meyer just built on that success.
So I have a hard time with this.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a major mistake for the Jaguars. And I said it last week when we ranked our picks for the worst coaching jobs. And I don't remember if I have the Jaguars or the Jets last.
I think you had the Jets last and the Jags fifth. I had the Jags last.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I know it's a close opening. I would put them at the bottom of the heap for new coaches right now because this tells me the ownership. I have no faith in the ownership.
Right. Well, I don't either. I mean, that was why I said what I said. I mean, Khan has so many other interests. It just seems like he gets things wrong over and over again as an owner in what's going on with this team.
You look at this, and I'm sorry. I don't. First of all, I don't understand how he even gets on your radar. The reason he left coaching was because of health reasons that occurred from the stress of trying to continue to win. And he even came out in an interview and said, I hate losing. Losing hurts my health. Well, guess what, Mr. Coach Urban Meyer? You're not going undefeated in the NFL, especially in Jacksonville.
No, you are going to lose a ton of games.
You are probably going to lose 13 to 14 games next year.
Right.
And I don't care if they have the first pick. I don't care if they have $100 million in salary cap space.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You
have a vote of no confidence for me that you can efficiently use that money to build a winning team.
Right.
I just don't have faith in this organization.
Yeah.
Now moving forward off of the Urban Meyer thing, because it'll be interesting to see who he gets. Supposedly he already has a staff. On this retrospect, I don't. Did they follow the Rooney Rule? Did they? And this is the thing that frustrates me with the NFL.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yep.
We talk about equality for minority coaching candidates, right? And there's the Rooney Rules in effect. But where's the transparency for these organizations proving they gave minority coaches a legit opportunity to pitch why they should be the head coach?
Right.
Where? I'm telling you right now, there's no way Jacksonville followed through with the Rooney Rule. They might have interviewed a couple of guys that were minority candidates, but they knew from the day they fired Doug Marrone, probably before they even fired him, that they wanted Urban Meyer as their head coach.
They had to have. I mean, this is ridiculous. They had to have. Yeah. Because like I said, when we talked about this, not within the first, I honestly think it was 5 minutes. I honestly do. And it was like, oh, Urban Meyer is a name we've heard. Well, then you guys already knew about this. You're leaking it to Adam Schefter and these other guys, so they're already talking about it, which means you must have had it in mind almost, a month ago. I mean, you want to know who head coach, you're thinking about it already.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So that frustrates me because you look at these teams that make these quick hires, and we can sit there and bash the NFL for the lack of equality. That has to still go back on the teams. And then the NFL, their responsibility is they need to hold these teams accountable. And when they don't feel that they are following through with the Rooney Rule, they need to penalize these teams and not just fine them.
Right.
Take draft picks away, and not a measly 4th or 5th round pick. Take their 1st round draft pick away. That'll teach them.
Now, supposedly, from what I had read, and I was looking at a couple different places, they supposedly interviewed Eric Bieniemy and
Whatever.
But I don't. That's the thing. Like you said, show the proof. I need to know. I mean, did they actually do this stuff?
Here's the thing. They probably did interview them, but they knew they weren't hiring them.
Yeah.
And that's more of a slap in the face to minority candidates than just not interviewing them.
Right. I mean, it's like, okay, look, NFL, we complied with the Rooney Rule, and we had them in here for 5 minutes. We talked to them, and we booted them out. Thanks.
Because I'll tell you right now, if I am sitting here making an objective observation on coaching candidates and I need to hire one, and I look at Urban Meyer, Eric Bieniemy, and these other guys, knowing that this is the NFL and it's a different animal, I'm hiring Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not been a head coach, but he has been the offensive coordinator of one of the most prolific offenses the last couple of years in the NFL.
Right. He has an NFL pedigree.
Urban Meyer has never coached in the NFL.
No. Not even as a quality control guy.
Right.
He hasn't done it.
So, ripple effect now moving forward, and we'll get into this, once we get through the playoffs here, but it warrants a discussion right now. The number 1 pick, everybody assumes Trevor Lawrence. Well, guess who Urban Meyer recruited to come to Ohio State?
And who didn't?
Justin Fields.
Oh, yes. I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say Trevor Lawrence or something like that. He didn't go there, but
no, yeah. Justin Fields.
Right, right.
I read an article now that Justin Fields may be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I mean, the ripple effects this can cause in the draft. Now, if that happens, if you're the Jets, you're like,
holy crap.
This is awesome.
Right.
If you're Jacksonville, this could set your franchise back 15 years.
Yeah. And it will. And we talked about this, and it's like compounding errors and making it worse. People have been, a couple people, we've talked about this, have been gushing over Justin Fields. No Ohio State quarterback has had a high level of success in the NFL ever. And if somebody comes on the show and says, remember this guy from 1930 who did, just don't tell me that. Okay. I fine. Great. Okay. Don't talk about that. I'm talking about within recent memory for most people who are still alive. Generally speaking, no Ohio State quarterback has had success. So you marry the coach with the quarterback, and you expect that you're going to have success at an NFL level when both of them are stepping in having never played or coached an NFL game. It's not going to work.
And I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully, the Jaguars are smart and take Trevor Lawrence. I am not as, again, and people can say I'm an idiot or whatever. I am not a fan of first-round quarterbacks. I said this last year during our draft special. I'm going to continue to say it. I am not a fan of taking a quarterback high in the first round unless they're a slam dunk, like a Peyton Manning
Right.
or, somebody like that. Yeah, and everybody's like, oh, look at Patrick Mahomes. Okay, he is pick 15. I can understand that. Like, I wasn't high on any of the quarterbacks in the first round this last year. Justin
Mm-hmm.
Herbert proved me wrong. Great. I'll admit it. If I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong.
Right,
But
and I
others,
agree. I mean, we both were. We both said we really had a hard time with seeing what some of these quarterbacks were going to do in the NFL. And yeah, in a sense, we were. But I'll tell you this though. I mean, you look at a lot of these guys who were picked high and they were supposed to pan out, and everybody gets all gushy and gaga about them right away. But look at Jared Goff and look at Carson Wentz and look at the
right?
situations that their teams are in right now.
I
And
mean,
don't you think that those teams would rather have thought about that? Is this going to work out? I mean,
well, how about this? You brought up Jared Goff.
yeah,
If Wolford would, and we'll get into this a little more detail, if Wolford would be healthy this week, he was probably going to start over Jared Goff.
yeah, he was.
What does that tell you?
Right.
Okay, but here's the thing: you yes, these first round quarterbacks can turn out to be good. I never said they can't be. I just, if I'm building a franchise that has multiple needs, that's not necessarily the number one position I'm going to pick unless there is a significant body of evidence showing me that he can do it. Yes, and I know, oh, Trevor Lawrence started 3 years. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But look what happened in his last couple of college football playoff games. He didn't play well.
No.
He didn't play well. Ohio State crushed him.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, I don't think was that good. Yes, they're good. But I'll tell you right now, if Ohio State had to play a full schedule, they would have lost a game.
Yeah.
They would have lost the game, and the Big Ten would not have gotten a team into the playoff series. Period.
Right.
Period. Um, I don't, Trevor Lawrence may turn out to be the next great quarterback. I have my reservations. Justin Fields, I'll tell you right now, is not going to be the next great quarterback in the NFL. I'll tell you right now.
No,
I don't
he's
think
not.
I don't think the kid, I think it's Zach Miller from BYU. I don't think he's going to be the next great quarterback in the NFL either. Um, so
Yeah, and I think the point, for that and the quarterback discussion, and we talked about this before, and this could very well happen in this situation like we're talking about, but what usually happens with these bad teams is they draft a quarterback, they throw him out there, and it doesn't work out because the team is no good. And the guy needs to learn and he needs to be able to get some reps, but not, he doesn't necessarily go out there and play all the time. And if he plays for a bad team, he's usually getting sacked or running for his life all the time. So it just doesn't usually work out. It can, but it just doesn't usually work out. I think that sometimes a quarterback that people point to are like, well, this worked out because you see this and da-da-da. Yeah. So the Mahomes situation, you had a team that really wasn't that bad picking at 15, which, so you're not a bad team if you're picking at 15. You're not a great team, but you're not a bad team.
right.
And that was the right marriage between the quarterback and the coach and how things worked out. Some quarterbacks don't go to the right system and they don't flourish. And not
Right.
only that, as I recall, Mahomes sat a year
Right.
before he started.
They had Alex Smith.
Right.
So, but they knew they needed somebody to sit behind him.
Yep.
So they took Mahomes thinking, and I'll tell you right now, I don't think Andy Reid thought Mahomes was going to start that fast.
Right.
But when Smith got hurt, Mahomes came in and basically blew the doors off of everybody. They were like, "Oh, we struck the jackpot," which they did,
Yeah. Right.
and that does happen. but it's very rare. You're more
You
likely,
look at it and you wonder if some of those other guys we're talking about had sat a year and then been able to play, maybe those things turn out differently.
right? I mean, you even look at Brett Favre. Brett Favre did not start right away. He
No, he
sat
did not.
his rookie year in Atlanta.
Yep.
The Packers traded for him, and he was the backup until halfway through his second year in the league.
Right.
Uh, it again, we're getting a little off topic, but anyways, this is going to be very interesting. You
Yeah,
know,
how much influence is Urban Meyer going to have when it comes to that draft? And that you make a great point there. Uh,
what
is Justin Fields going to get drafted number one? I mean, it's a very viable question to ask.
and the thing is, the Jacksonville even? I don't even think they've hired their GM yet.
No, I don't think they have, at least
It,
not
it,
from what I read. So
and this doesn't make any sense. The NFL teams are so many of them are hiring the coach and then hiring the GM and saying you have to work with this coach.
yeah,
That
at
is
least
so
according to what I saw,
backward.
I think that they interviewed two different people, and that's it for GM.
It is so backwards. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. Just unbelievable. I don't get it. Why would you have the guy in charge of your football operations not be able to hire somebody that he is comfortable working with and trusts?
because you want to do things backwards, and it's going to lead to you not having success.
Right. I mean, that's
I
what happened.
mean, yeah,
It happened. The same thing happened in New York with the
yep,
Jets. It happens all over the place lately. The coach gets hired and then the GM, which is totally backwards.
right,
Totally
yeah,
backwards.
yeah, and
Uh,
I think what you're staring at with Jacksonville, to me, is a few more years of not having success, probably another regime change, and then you start over again because you won't be any good and you'll have to start over again, and then more years of no success unless you get it right on that next hiring with the next GM and the next coach.
right. So
So
I don't know. This is going to be very interesting to see how this works out. It's early on. It looks like that um, he is looking at possibly Scott Linehan as his offensive coordinator, who's currently the offensive coordinator at LSU and was the the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, and he was the head coach for the
Minnesota
Rams,
Vikings.
and
He
he was with
was,
the Vikings.
yeah,
So he's a decent old coordinator.
right.
They're grading this a or a B and a B minus. Um, I would say I'd put this as right now a C plus maybe. Um, just because his success in college and maybe higher if he does prove that he can at least get them around 500.
Right.
Again, you're in the AFC. You have so many good teams in the AFC. You have teams with 10 wins not making the playoffs in the AFC.
Right. And even within your own division, I mean, you've got two teams that went 11-5.
You have three. Well, I'm not gonna say it, two very good teams. I was gonna say
Right.
Houston, but Houston. We'll get into that in just a bit.
Yeah, that's another issue. We'll get into that. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is gonna be very very interesting. I'm just wondering if they struggle too much in his first like year, 2 years, if all of a sudden these health concerns pop up and he ends up leaving. If
Right.
that happens, this looks like a complete debacle if that would happen. So
Yeah.
Jacksonville better hope he does not end up leaving because of health issues.
Right.
So,
And he could because they're going to struggle.
right,
Bottom line,
they're gonna struggle mightily.
yeah, it's going to be bad next year
So
for Jacksonville. Well, this year, later on this year,
yeah.
but yes, it's going to be bad.
So moving on, we'll stay in the NFL with another team in the AFC South, the Houston Texans, who I didn't think there could be a more dysfunctional team than the Jets. but we have one.
They just wanted to steal the show
Oh,
in
man.
their off season.
The Houston Texans, and we talked about this a little bit last week,
hmm
hire Nick Cesario, I believe it is how you pronounce it, as their GM.
Yeah,
They did not follow any search committee's recommendations.
right.
They haven't even requested permission to interview Eric Bieniemy as their head coach, which Deshaun Watson wanted them to at least interview him.
Right. He's been interviewed by just about everybody else.
He has been interviewed by everybody.
Well, I don't know if I say almost everybody because I don't know if the Eagles interviewed him.
Right. Well,
So
but
yeah.
we'll get into that when we talk about the opening. There's some rumors there that I read earlier today. Um, and now Deshaun Watson wants he hasn't come out and said he wants out, but he is not happy with this organization.
Right.
Read between the lines, trade me. That's what I say. The read between the lines there says trade me. You now have I can't think of his name. The receive the what's his name?
DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah.
No, not DeAndre Hopkins. Johnson. They're
Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. Andre 3000.
Came out and said, "Hold, keep your stance. Do not buy into what Houston is selling you."
Right.
Because basically they don't know what they're doing. They waste superstars. I mean, that is huge. I mean, he just basically took the Houston Texans organization that has basically been like the cornerstone of and kicked them right in the nuts.
Yeah. And he's the guy. And you know what? And I'll say this too. Some players have more gravitas than others. You know, some have more respect and get more respect when they say something than others. Andre Johnson is one of those guys who I think was known for being a guy that people would look up to or respect in the league. You know, he's one of those guys that he only, I think, lost his cool on the field one time that I can remember. And he really played with, I think he was just a classy guy. For him to come out and say this as a lifelong Texan, you know, he only played there for his career. It carries a lot of weight. It's not just some random player who played in 15 different, in 15 different teams, who's a mercenary, who was saying this. This guy was, like you said, a cornerstone in this organization. I think that means something.
Oh, exactly. This does not bode well for the Texans organization overall. You have Deshaun Watson who's not happy. You have J.J. Watt who's not happy. You have former players that are bashing the organization. This is not good. And then you have the owner come out and say, I can't wait for Deshaun to come back so we can sit down and talk about this. I would get him on the phone and be like, hey, we need to talk, get this thing figured out.
Right.
Because the longer it festers,
the worse it'll be.
The worse it's going to be. They haven't had any more coaching rumors out of Houston. But again, we said it before, they have not interviewed Eric Bieniemy. He's basically made comments to people that he's not going to interview with them now because they never asked before, so he's not interested in that organization. Which I don't.
He's had enough interviews. He's probably okay.
Right.
Well, he doesn't want to step into this organization. I mean, would you as a coaching candidate right now?
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing, Deshaun Watson came out and said, we need a culture change. We need a reset. Okay. Yeah. Well, think about this. What culture did they have? What culture did they try to bring into that organization? Mm-hmm. What team did they try to emulate?
Yeah, the Patriots. Yeah, I mean, they took the Bill O'Brien thing. And
they don't work. So you fire Bill O'Brien. then what do you hire?
Nick Casario and like
Another
whatever. Like
person
you're
that's
doing
trying
the
to
same
bring in the
thing.
Patriot culture.
Right.
That's not what the players want. And
No.
I'm sorry, I get it. This is the NFL. This isn't the NBA. But to run a successful organization, again, and this is funny. It kind of leads into this kind of is funny because in one of my classes, we're is a leadership classes right
Mm-hmm.
now, and we talked about different styles of leadership just this week. The autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire.
Right.
You have to be democratic when you're talking about professional sports teams. You don't have to take all the suggestions of your players, but you have to at least sit down, talk to them, see
Mm-hmm.
what they are thinking and what their thought process is, and say, you know what, we'll look into it, but we're not guaranteeing you that we're going to do it. That's all they're asking. That's all these guys ask is to be
Yeah.
listened. But basically, Houston's like, no, we don't care. We don't
Well,
care.
and what I
And they're
struggle with
being
is,
very autocratic. Shut up,
yeah,
and we're just going to do what we want. You play the
right.
game.
You play the game, it's too bad. And what bothers me is that if you told Watson that he would be part of the process and then you didn't have him as part of the process and you wonder why that there's a problem now. I mean, how can you wonder that? No, I'm not a big fan of letting the players kind of, I like the NBA is like you said is more like that. You got star players who kind of call the shots a little bit more so,
Right.
than a lot of other sports. But if you say to your quarterback, "Hey, and we're going to kind of involve you. At least we want you to see who these guys are, or meet them, or whatever the case may be." But then you don't. Then you just turn right around. And you're like, "Nah, we don't care what you have to say. We don't care what you think. You just go out there and you play and you do what you're told."
Well,
That doesn't work. What kind of culture is that you're creating?
right. I mean, you look at it this way. When Green Bay was going through the process of deciding whether to fire Mike McCarthy or not, they talked to Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers.
Right.
They talked to him. They
Yep.
necessarily, before they fired him, when they fired Mike McCarthy, they talked to Aaron Rodgers. They obviously didn't hire the person that he wanted, but they had the discussion. Now he didn't, they didn't call, Rodgers up and say, "Hey, we're hiring Matt LaFleur." They
Yeah.
just hired him, and but the beginning of the process, they at least had had a dialogue with him. And that's what players want. They want to be involved in the dialogue so they know what's going on. In this Houston franchise, I think this is not good. This thing's going. This is now has taken over as the dumpster fire for the Jets. The Jets cleaned their dumpster fire up by firing Adam Gase.
Yeah. I mean, that was the beginning of that was the majority of their problem,
Right.
and so they got rid of that.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
seriously, if you get a competent coach in there, not saying they're going to be 500, but they'll win 5, 6 games,
For sure.
win 5 or 6
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
and you give that coach a couple of years, they might be able to get into the playoffs. You know,
I mean, and you look at them from a talent perspective, they have some pieces there. I think you had a couple pieces that they left and let go, and then the play calling and the coaching was so bad
yeah,
that
yeah,
I think people lost sight of whatever talent they might have had because of how awful it was.
right, exactly.
So yeah, it's not
So,
the worst thing to step into. And what does that do? I was looking at it from a standpoint before where that Texans head coaching job was high on the list. Now,
oof,
I don't know. It might even be down to the 5, spot.
this is
Do the Jets go above?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You're about to lose your starting. I told you this last week when we went through these lists.
yeah,
You
yeah,
said where the Texans were because you said, well, they have Deshaun Watson. And I said,
yep.
for now,
For now,
for
yeah.
now, because that story just broke.
Right. It just broke then, and it's gotten nothing but completely worse. It's been horrible this whole week. So I mean, yeah, I would put them down there too. The Jaguars, obviously, we talked about that, so I think they stay at the 6. But in terms of openings. But yeah, the Texans just plummeted down the list in terms of head coach going there because this whole thing is a disaster.
Yeah. So here's my question for you, Lone Wolf. Is Deshaun Watson because to be honest, with everything going on, we're probably not going to get to keep him or leave him. So I'm just going to ask one of them right now: is Deshaun Watson going to be Houston Texan next year?
I don't think so. So is that a keep him or leave him?
well, that's just a question.
Okay, no, I don't think so. And I think the reason for that is because of how the whole thing is playing out with him, and the fact that he wants out of town. The organization is probably going to not move on that right away. Like you said, they're kind of like, okay, you just do what you're told. But the longer this goes on, the worse it gets, and it's going to continue to fester. I think that would be the thing to do, and I think they may look at that and say, okay, he's a problem child. Let's move him on and get somebody else in here.
You know,
I think he will be.
You know what I would do? Because here's the thing, and for some reason, I'm not a big fan of this team, but they're so bad. I would be intrigued to get to try to return them to the glory from their one Super Bowl championship year. If I'm the Jets, I'm calling Houston and say, I will give you the number 2 for Deshaun Watson.
Oh yeah, sure.
You bring in Deshaun
why not? He's worth a number 2. Why not?
Right. He is a proven quarterback in his prime. You're not rolling the dice on Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Okay.
The guy passed for the most yards in the league in 2020.
And then on top of it, you could either keep Darnold, for his 5th year, just because it's a 1-year thing. Why not keep him? Or you could let him go then.
Yep.
And now you're set at quarterback for sure. For sure.
Right. Exactly. You are absolutely set at quarterback, and you're set there for a long time.
And if you're Houston, well, you could even say, we'll give you Sam Darnold and the number 2 for Deshaun Watson.
Sure.
If you're Houston right now, you almost have to take that deal.
Yeah.
Because you get a quarterback back in return. You get the number 2 pick, which you could take another quarterback. Because I don't think they have a first-round pick this year. Again.
No,
I don't. Because all this.
And that's the thing. The sins of Bill O'Brien are coming back in terms of the sins of the GM, Bill O'Brien.
Right.
Who, they didn't have a lot of picks in the last draft, and I don't think they have a lot of picks in this draft, and it's going to hurt them as a franchise. So that would be a way to get a good pick right there, right at the top of the draft.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, another breaking news. My man. I am, you know what? I'm about to dump the Raiders. I think I am. I'm officially gonna.
You're gonna dump the Raiders as your team?
I'm dumping them. My new team that's just breaking. My man, who, Lone Wolf?
Robert Salah.
Robert Salah, the new head coach of the New York Jets. This was going to be later on. My new AFC.
Oh boy! Oh, Robert Salah.
I am rooting for the Jets. I love this guy. I think he's going to be a great coach. This is better than the Urban Meyer signing. This is better.
Hands down.
The Jets just became such a better franchise.
You're like gushing.
I am getting on board with Mike Greenberg, and I am going to be a New York Jets fan.
Oh, man. You and Greeny are going to be best buds next year.
I mean, seriously, this is awesome. Now, hopefully, this is great. And this is going to come up when we were talking about, in our hot seat, we were going to talk about coaching rumors. This was one of the rumors that I was going to talk about. The Jets had interviewed Robert Salah, and they brought him in today for a second interview because he was getting so much attention.
He's had a lot of interviews. He's had a ton of interviews too. Yeah, a lot of press.
That the rumors were if they wanted him, that they were going to offer him at the second interview, which they did. And this is this is, I think, I know Eric Bieniemy, great offensive coordinator.
Right.
I'd much rather have a defensive-minded coach that hires a great offensive coordinator to run the offense.
Yeah.
But this guy gets guys to play. Look what he did with this 49er defense with all the injuries he had. They were still a top 10 defense.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. I mean, and that's incredible considering the amount of injuries they had, their top players going down. Uh, I know you are like, you're you thought this guy should have been a head coach last year.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I
This is
like him. I like him too. I think he's a good coach, and I think this is the best thing the Jets could have done.
absolutely. This is going to be such a different atmosphere.
Oh, hands down.
It's not going to be,
Down.
well, I don't call plays, but well, sometimes I do, but I don't. But on third downs I do. What?
That's like the there's a Hall of Fame, even though we haven't been doing the Beavis comment for that long. That's like in the Hall of Fame of the Beavis comment.
That's like one of the top. We'll get it. We will be doing the Beavis comment, no matter how long this show goes. We will have it. I have a good one.
Yeah, I have to put that out there because that was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life. And
that is, yeah.
You're right. This isn't even a 180. This is like a 720 culture change for the Jets with Robert Salah being head coach.
The Jets arrow is pointing up, and I know they're a quarterback. I'm telling you, New York. I'm telling you, trade for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, do it.
Trade for Deshaun Watson. He can handle the lights of New York.
Yeah,
absolutely. You would go from being in the shadows of the Giants to being the team because now you have Deshaun Watson. You would go from a 2-win team to a 6-win team just by trading for him.
How good could this division be? And I look at it, and this is the funny part, right? You got the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots. And what I see is the stars on the rise for everybody else in the division except for the Patriots. And if you have Robert Salah as the head coach, and if you were to do something like that, I mean, this division suddenly becomes like stacked.
Yeah.
If you could,
in about 2 years, this division could be tough. Yeah. Now that the Jets have now the great thing is, and I know I gave Douglas a hard time because he just didn't axe Adam Gase, which I'm still gonna, you should have just did it. You knew you were going to do it. You should have just
done it. Yeah.
But he does do a great job in personnel. When he was at the Eagles, he was one of the key guys there that built that championship roster.
Right.
So he knows what he's doing when it comes to personnel. This is like I said, I'm sorry. I love Las Vegas, and that's why I picked the Raiders.
Right.
But not anymore. My man, Robert Salah, gets his chance to be a head coach. This is awesome.
I think your connection with wanting to see a head coach like that, or wanting to see a coach become a head coach like that, and it is stronger than just the Vegas bond. So I think you got to go for that. I agree.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's great.
I love it. That's great. This is great because like you said, we're going to get to it anyway, and we might as well we dive right into it with this happening just now. I'm not going to maybe get as excited as you, but I will say this for the Jets, this is exactly what they needed to do. I think this is a great hire. So far, in terms of hiring a new coach, I think the Jets are the winners.
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens with the rest of them, but they definitely got it right with this one.
Absolutely. I think this is I don't think you could have brought in like Eric Bieniemy because again, you needed somebody you need somebody that can get guys to believe, and not saying Eric Bieniemy can't do that, but you just saw what he did last year with all that talent. I mean, that was unbelievable. That defense. And the reason the 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl was because of their offense, not because of their defense.
Right.
But then this year, being able to maintain that level of defense, you lost Bosa. You
And
lost.
early on too,
Yeah.
it wasn't like,
You you traded away one of your stalwarts in the middle of the D line.
Right. Yep.
I mean, you lost secondary players. He lost linebackers, but they were still one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
Jets fans,
Even with all that.
you should be so excited right now for this coach. So exciting.
I
So,
want to hear the reactions. I want to hear
oh,
what people
yeah,
say about it. Over the next couple of days.
and I think these openings are going to get filled quickly now.
Mm-hmm.
The one the opening that Eric Bieniemy, if he's offered a job, because there's rumors that he may not even get offered a job, which it's every team's prerogative on who they hire.
Yeah.
I understand that, but it would be a shame he doesn't get a shot to be a NFL head coach. He is the offensive coordinator for one of the best offenses in the league, the defending Super Bowl champions. He should at least get that opportunity. But we'll see. The funny thing is, here's another debacle. The Detroit Lions, yes, they hired a GM. They wanted the Minnesota legislature wrote a letter to the Lions basically begging them to hire Salah as their head coach. And they lost out on him. That's the Lions.
Oh yeah.
So
This is what this organization does. I mean, what I don't want is, I see some names in here of coaches, and I guess we just kind of got into this whole thing because we started with Urban Meyer, now we got into Salah, and now we're talking about it, so we might as well.
right, yeah, we might as well finish it now.
Yeah, we might as well. So the Lions, I see some names in here, and this other teams too have done this, but there's some retreads, and I don't mind retreads if it makes sense for your organization from the culture that person's going to bring in and that kind of standpoint. But some of the names I saw here, like Jim Caldwell, I just don't think
he was already their coach.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I mean, he was already Lions coach. He interviewed somewhere else, but I just don't want to see these names. Even Marvin Lewis. I like Marvin Lewis. I think he was a good coach in Cincinnati for a really long time. But unless you can say specifically that your organization needs someone like that to come in, a more tenured guy, it's got to be very specific to your organization.
Right. And that's the thing. And the Lions just hired their GM. So I'm sure within the next 3 to 4 days, they'll probably have a coach hired, I would assume. I think the Chargers know. I think my feeling is the Chargers are going to hire Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
But they won't be able to hire him until after the Chiefs are eliminated, which,
right.
I mean, it could be this week, and we'll get into that a little bit. But
right.
I think the longer the Chargers go without hiring somebody, points to the direction that's Eric Bieniemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially now, Robert Salah's off the board.
Right.
There was rumors that they had started talking to Urban Meyer, which I'm sorry, if you're Urban Meyer, go to the Chargers, much better situation.
Oh yeah, I mean that still bodes as the top spot out of all the
absolutely
spots. Yeah,
absolutely. I like Robert Saleh as a head coach, but they do have their work cut out for him with the Jets.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a couple year project to get them to be a playoff contender. It just is.
If there's a guy that can do it by motivating and getting guys to do the right thing, I mean, he's that guy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't even know what the Texans are thinking. I'm assuming I am assuming that it is going to be Josh McDaniels, which we know how well it worked out in Denver.
I mean, what you might as well do is pour the lighter fluid on it, throw a match on it, and then throw some industrial alcohol on top of it while you're at it. I mean, that's what you're doing right now. It's like let's create a volcano here while we're at it. It's disgusting what's going on.
I'll tell you right now, if they hire Josh McDaniels, JJ Watt's going to ask to be traded.
Yeah,
John Watson,
absolutely.
they're going to publicly come out and say we want out.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's just they aren't happy.
Yeah.
Okay, well you can still repair that because you know depending on who you hire as the coach and some changes you make. But if they bring in another Patriot offensive coordinator, and I understand everybody's gonna be, oh, but Bill O'Brien was the Penn State head coach. He still was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots at one point.
Right.
The
It's the philosophy that a
the
guy has
players
when he steps in.
don't
Yeah.
want to be the New England of the AFC South. They want to be the Houston Texans. And they're trying to make that like the Patriots. You can't duplicate that. Be yourselves. Be who you need to be. Don't try to emulate another franchise. It doesn't
You can
work.
take pieces of what they do successfully, but you're right. You have to be you. You have to be your own franchise. Bottom line.
Um,
So
so I'm trying to think. So we talked about the Chargers, the Texans, the
the
Lions.
Lions a little bit, I think
I
for
mean, there's
them,
not really much to say there.
no, not really. No.
You know, and the last is the Atlanta. I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything really about Atlanta. Salah was mentioned to be a leading candidate there too. That's the thing. I think the Jets jumped on this because they knew Salah was the top candidate for multiple teams, and
Yeah,
now
because he was
we're
interviewed by Atlanta, he was interviewed by Detroit, he was interviewed by
right.
a lot of other teams. Yeah. Yep.
So now that these teams missed out, I think we're not gonna hear anything about other coaching hires until next week.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
um,
think that's probably fair. And Atlanta's actually gone and from what I see, they've interviewed quite a few people. Interviewed Raheem Morris, Eric Bieniemy, Robert Saleh, Joe Brady from the Panthers,
oh geez.
Todd Bowles.
Oh, Todd Bowles. I mean, he had again. Those are Todd Bowles is a retread.
Yeah, yeah, he's had a couple shots. He's been a successful defensive coordinator,
Right.
and I think he's one of those guys where in Arizona and in Tampa, he's proven that he can be a good defensive coordinator. But when he was the head coach in the Jets, it didn't really totally work out.
Right.
So you kind of
All
see
right.
that with some guys.
Well, let's keep moving on here because we're almost an hour in here and we
Yeah,
are.
we got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot in there. So yep.
So we'll end with the NBA. We're on the NFL, so we might as well talk um, divisional round playoffs.
Yeah,
Uh,
that works. Yep.
Now we were wrong about the Browns last week.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think. I think I
I
think we
think
were
we
wrong.
split maybe Ravens Titans, or did we both pick the Titans?
I think we both picked the Titans there.
Okay, in a close
Um,
one there. Yeah.
we both
Now I
picked
will say this though, Coach. I said, and I'm pretty sure you agreed with me. If Jared Goff plays, then the Rams will win the game, which
right.
is kind of a weird thing that we were talking about, considering he might not be the better choice, but he did play, and the Rams did win the game. I don't know if that really had everything to do with him, but I want to
Right.
say, we kind of said the Seahawks would win, but then if this happens, they'll win, and they did. So the
Yeah,
Rams did.
the Colts almost beat the Bills. So that was a surprising one.
Yeah.
Uh, other than that, um, you know, everybody says, "Oh, look at Cleveland." Pittsburgh was not playing good football. Great for Cleveland. They won the game.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh spotted them 28 points. He only won by 11.
Right. I
Just
mean,
saying.
the opening
Just
snap.
saying.
The opening snap was a fumble over Ben's head. The
Right.
opening play of the game. It
Right.
set the tone for the entire game, and the
So,
Steelers just gave it up. They
so let's talk about AFC Divisional playoffs.
sure.
Baltimore at Buffalo, Saturday night. This is actually an intriguing game. Now,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
Buffalo's secondary is suspect of giving up plays. Um, Baltimore played well on defense. I mean, I still think they're kind of a one trick pony. You look at that. I don't know if you watched that game, but
I did.
Lamar Jackson throws that interception. The ball slipped out of my hand. Okay, well, it's the playoffs. You can't have that stuff happen. You weren't being pressured.
Right.
You had time, and that was just a bad play. Yes, they won the game, but it was only by 7 against a Titans defense that was not playing as well as they did at this point last year.
And really hadn't played as well this year as they did last year.
Right. And so when I look at this, I think Buffalo wins by 10. I really do. It's only a 2.5 point line. I think this is 10. The Buffalo's offense is playing so well. They're not a run heavy offense.
No.
So I really think they're going to be able to pass the ball on Baltimore and win by 10.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw in Ravens Titans was the Ravens pulled out everything they possibly could on defense to limit the Titans. And to me, the Titans kind of edged back into the playoffs. They didn't play well on offense against good teams at the end of the year. They didn't play well on offense against the Packers. They played well against, I think, the Texans, in their last game, but that was pointless. And then they didn't play well on offense against the Ravens. And part of that was they couldn't get Derrick Henry going. But the defensive coordinator, Martindale, for the Ravens pretty much, just kind of took away any of the weapons they had.
Yeah.
And Ryan Tannehill didn't really come out and shine. But this team, when they get down, they don't do it as well. And on defense, like you said, they were limited. And even then, the Ravens didn't really take advantage of a weak Titans defense. The Titans had a lot of sacks in that game, and that's one of the worst pass rushers in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that Ravens win, yes, they're streaking right now. They're winning games, but the Bills are too.
Right.
And the thing I see from the Bills is, I think they needed that close game to kind of punch them a little bit and say, guess what? It's the playoffs. You're better than the Colts, and you won the game. I agree. I think they will win this game. And I originally was thinking it'd be a close game, but I agree with you. I don't think it will be. I think the Bills will win handily.
Okay. And I'm going to let you lead off with the Browns at the Chiefs.
So this game, to me, could be a possible upset only from this standpoint. The Browns are exuberant over their win over the Steelers. They have their first playoff win since dinosaurs roamed the earth. And the only thing to be wary of if you're the Chiefs is you sat everybody for 3 weeks. You haven't done anything. And for people who say that doesn't make a difference, it does make a difference. The Chiefs were not entering the postseason on a hot streak. And teams, it does make a huge difference when teams are peaking at the right time. The Chiefs were not peaking at the end of the season, and they've been sitting. So if the Browns can take anything, I think they can say, okay, we're playing good right now. We're streaking in the playoffs. We're playing. Nobody thought we should win last week. We're playing on borrowed time, whatever. we're just going to leave it all out there and we got a chance. That being said, I think the Chiefs are just too talented for the Browns, and they're going to win this game. I think it'll be closer than maybe people think. It has the makings of a potential blowout, but I think it'll be closer than people think. And but the Chiefs will win.
All right. Yeah, like you said, upset definitely could happen. And you know what? I'm calling it. I'm picking the Browns. And this
Wow.
and this is why. This
Okay.
is why what do the Browns do well?
They run the football.
They run the football. The Chiefs are allowing 122 rushing yards per game.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to see if I can bring up their weekly breakdown. I want to see. Okay. They have not won a game by more than one possession since they beat the Jets in week 8.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really telling. Yeah.
When you look at and I'm taking that last game out. I'm being objective about this because that was they said everybody. So I'm not using that as a marking point here.
Right.
I'm trying to bring up some box scores here.
Well, and you make a good
So again,
point about that. Yeah.
Like Atlanta, they
Mm-hmm.
14-17. Atlanta should have won that game.
Yeah.
I watched that game. They should have won that game. They gave it away. I just I understand Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, great offensive weapons. I don't have faith in this Chiefs defense to stop the run. I just don't. I mean, I hate to say it because I don't. It's not that I don't like the Browns. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan. I don't like the way he acts when on and off the field. I just don't like it. You know, but yeah, I have to look at it objectively, and I can't sit here and say that the Chiefs 100% are going to win this game. And with that, yes, anything can happen. And again, you said it straight out. They sat 3 weeks. Edwards may not be back 100% in the Chiefs offensive lineup, which puts Le'Veon Bell as the top running back. And I don't think he's as good as he was when he was with the Steelers.
No, he's not that good anymore.
Yes, the Browns secondary is shaky. But if the people that are saying the Chiefs are going to walk through these next 2 weeks to the Super Bowl have something coming to them.
I agree.
They just do. This is
Yeah.
not going to be easy. Look what happened last year. The Chiefs were down by 24 against the Texans?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I look at the Browns this year and the Texans last year. If the Browns get a lead, they're going to win this game because they can run the ball.
Yes, and that's what their bread and butter is to be able to do that.
So
I look at this when you're talking about a coach, and it's like I could see it going that way, and I think it's really fair to say that a team that's hot in the playoffs coming in and taking a team who, you can take things for granted as a sports writer. You can't take them for granted as a team. And I don't think that the Chiefs are going to take things for granted, but they are not streaking right now. They have not been playing their best football for quite a while here. And that makes a big difference when you're walking into the postseason.
And I don't want to hear, oh, they were bored.
Yeah, that's just garbage.
I've heard that so many times this week. Oh, the reason that it's so close, they just were bored with the regular season. They were bored when they were sitting at 6-1. You hadn't clinched a playoff spot yet. How can you say you're bored? You can't sit here and assume you're going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
So I don't.
Anybody that says that, that's just, yeah.
I don't buy that. I think this defense is not as good as it was last year for the Chiefs. I'm going to pick it.
All right.
Browns with the upset to face the Bills in the AFC Championship game. That's what I'm picking.
I've been dogging the Browns all year, but no, I mean, really, right now they're in a unique position to potentially.
You have to give them their rightful due. They're playing well. Again, I'm not a Browns fan. I'm not a fan of Baker Mayfield. I still don't think he's a franchise quarterback. But I think their strength matches up great with a Kansas City weakness.
Well, and here's one of the reasons that I'm going to still stick with the Chiefs is because of Mayfield. Now, you've been able to, as Stefanski, kind of, for the most part, run the football a lot and protect Mayfield from having to go out and just dominate and win games. Because we saw, for whatever reason in the Jets game, the Browns ran the ball a total, I think, of 17 times among all their running backs. What the heck were you doing in that game?
Exactly.
And Mayfield didn't win them the game against the Jets. So if he has to go out and do that in this game, if their game plan falters at all in terms of wanting to run the ball with Chubb and Hunt, they will lose the game. And I could see Mayfield making a key mistake, costing them the game. Because he's done that many times.
And I agree with that. If the Chiefs take away the run, the game's over. The game's absolutely over. But I'll tell you what, you just said a key name there.
Yeah.
And it's not Nick Chubb. It's Kareem Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
A little payback.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
A little extra motivation this week. I'm sure he would love to knock the Chiefs out of the playoffs. And, I might be, if people listening are probably thinking I'm nuts. But you know what? This is why we do this show. We make observations and make predictions. And it's never really fun if we agree on everything. So,
I mean, I'm picking that way. But when I looked at these 4 games, this was the one game out of the 4 where I would say I have the most upset vibes of the 4 games, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
I do.
I agree. So let's move to the NFC because we have our AFC Championship game set. Yep. And again, for those people that are listening, we are not, a lot of shows will pick all the way through who they think. So we are picking it round by round.
So I've already kind of done that, but it depends on if those teams are still around when it comes down to it. But so NFC side.
So we'll start with Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Everybody's saying that this is a clash of the
old QBs.
I don't think that's really the story of this game.
No, not at all. I agree.
Yeah. I think it's the defenses you have to look at in this game. I think both offenses can score points. You're going to be inside. Weather's not a factor. There's going to be points in this game.
Right.
It's which defense can get to the other team's quarterback. and cause turnovers. And I get everybody saying, "Oh, Tom Brady, he's been in this situation so many times," and blah 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 blah. All right, I get that. Basically, Drew Brees has come out and says he's retiring, no matter what happens. Um, so, looking at this, Michael Thomas, finally back. Um, you still have Alvin Kamara. I don't think the Tampa Bay defense has been playing particularly well. Um, later in the year as they did the beginning of the year. The Saints are -3. I think it's going to be about that close. I am going to pick the Saints. I think it's going to be a shootout, like a 35-31 type score. This is going to be a high-scoring game, but I do like the Saints. I think their defense is playing better right now than the Buccaneers. And I'm sorry, I don't care if it's Tom Brady. He's not in New England. He doesn't have Bill Belichick, and I like Bruce Arians as a coach. I just don't think he's at that top elite level where he can make adjustments. And I think Sean Payton is.
Yeah, and I look at this matchup, and these two teams have already faced each other twice. Saints have gotten the better of the Bucs both times. And in that second game where it was 38-3, I mean, that was a kind of a surprise to me that the Bucs got blown out that badly in that game. But there's something to do with familiarity. I think the Saints look at this and they didn't play particularly well against the Bears, in my opinion. They had a lot of opportunities there to really put the Bears away. And not that they needed to, because the Bears were just atrocious on offense. So, yeah, I think it will be a high-scoring game. But I also will go with the Saints in this case. They want to make up a storyline about the two quarterbacks that will eventually be in the Hall of Fame and make that the storyline. And I agree with you that it is not. Drew Brees was not very impressive in that game last week. Still probably, maybe even still struggling with the injury that he had. And Tom Brady, yeah, he's had a great year. He threw 40 touchdown passes, but this isn't the same guy who is at the peak of his powers,
No.
Tom Brady. So you're absolutely right. There are other storylines here in this game that are more important, but I think the Saints are the more complete team as compared to the Bucs, and the Saints win this game.
All right, moving on to the Rams at the Green Bay Packers. You know, listening to the talking heads on sports radio, you would think the Rams are the 1 and the Packers are the 6.
Yeah.
It is amazing, how much the people are talking up the Rams. And yes, I said I think Sean McVay should get Coach of the Year. I mean, especially after losing Jared Goff, starting a guy that basically nobody even knew of, and winning a playoff. And again, here's another thing where they talk about storyline. You have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey versus Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Again, yes, it's a storyline and it's something to be interesting to watch. I don't think that's the storyline we should be focusing on. Because I'll tell you right now, yes, Jalen Ramsey they're gonna do the best to take away Devontae Adams. You're not gonna shut Devontae Adams down like he did other wide receivers around the league. You're just not. He's gonna get his catches. Now, if you can, are you gonna keep him on the end zone? Maybe. But if you look at the Packers offense, what happens to teams in the first half when they key on trying to shut down Devontae Adams? Well, Lazard goes off, Scanlon goes off, Tunyon goes off.
Right.
Okay, now you can't focus just on stopping Devontae Adams
Or Aaron Jones, out
or
of the
Aaron Jones.
backfield or something. They've got some, yeah, yep,
They talk about, and again, you they talk we talk about the Chiefs having all these weapons. The Packers have weapons. They're just not household names.
no, they're not, yeah,
So again, I don't think that that's the story. The storyline that I think you should be talking about is a Packers defense that has been playing very well the last quarter of the season.
yeah,
You now know today it was announced Jared Goff will be starting. Wolford's out. Blake Bortles is the backup.
yeah.
And that thumb, I don't know if you watched any of the Rams Seattle game,
Yeah, I did watch part of it. Yes.
but Jared Goff literally had to muscle that ball to his receivers, and it was not pretty.
No.
And you can't tell me that in a week span, the thumb's going to get that much better. Plus, it's supposed to be cold and possibly
Right.
snow.
That's a tough injury to have, and in the cold, even worse.
Right. So I would not be surprised if we see Blake Bortles on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, I think Jared Goff's going to give it a go, which he should. If he's their franchise quarterback, he should try. Because guess what? You lose, no, you got all off season to get the thumb right.
Yeah.
But I just think that is what people should be focusing on is the Packers defense is being overlooked.
Yes.
But they shut down. I mean, they didn't totally stop Derrick Henry. They kept him on the end zone and they kept him from any big gains.
The biggest gain I think he had was 10 or 11 yards in
Right.
that game.
And you can live with one run like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That defense is playing really well right now. I'm not a Mike Pettin fan. I still think they need to find a new defensive coordinator,
Right.
but he's pushing the right buttons right now. And we saw this back when Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl. Their defense started playing well at the end of the season.
Yep.
You look at the teams that win the Super Bowl, their defense plays well at the end of the season. Yes, I know Rams. Oh, the Rams have the best defense. They're blah, blah. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
You have two of the best defensive players in the league. I get that. You still allowed 20 points to a Seattle team that has not been playing well on either side of the ball, in my opinion, the last month of the season. You needed a defensive touchdown to put that game away. You're not getting a pick six off of a screen pass on Aaron Rodgers.
No.
You're not doing it. And I think it's funny. I don't remember who the host is. They're talked up the other corner opposite of Jalen Ramsey like he was the next Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah. People want to make this defense like the super defense. And their defense isn't. This is not the 85 Bears defense. This is not the 01 Ravens defense. This is not that good of a defense. It's a good defense. It's really good.
This isn't the defense of the 49ers last year.
No, it's not.
If it was, you would not be the 6th seed.
You wouldn't be 10-6. Exactly. Precisely. Because the 49ers were kind of the same formula, right? Their offense wasn't as good. Their defense was completely lights out. But this Rams defense isn't that good. It's not as good as that. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I agree with you. It's a good defense, but it's not an elite, great defense.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, statistically, they're one of the best, they're the best defense in the league. Okay.
Yep.
You lost to the Seahawks 20-9. You lost to the Jets 23-20. You lost to the 49ers 23-20. You lost to the Dolphins 28-17. You lost to the 49ers 24-16. Defense are ranked off of yardage.
Right.
Okay. Yardage. Sorry, I don't care how many yards you give up. Yes, they've only allowed 18.5 points per game. But you're only scoring 23.1. You now have Jared Goff with a broken thumb playing in the cold at Lambeau Field versus a defense that's playing very well last quarter of the season. And you're playing Aaron Rodgers on his turf. They may not score 30 points. They're scoring high 20s. I don't think the Rams get to 20. I think the Packers win this game by 10 at least. I think Goff gets knocked out. You see Blake Bortles, and the Packers will host the Saints in the NFC Championship game at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I think that you made a lot of good points throughout that, and I think the biggest thing that people need to think about is, okay, people say offense wins games, defense wins championships, blah blah. But in this particular situation, the Rams have a really good defense, but right now they have an offense to me that is held together by their head coach. This is not a great offense by any stretch of the imagination. Um, and people want to talk about strength versus strength, right? The Packers offense against the Rams defense. I agree with you that this is not. It's a highlight thing. You can talk about it. It's so great, blah blah. But the Rams offense, I don't think they're going to score 10 points. I don't know. I mean, the Packers defense is playing a lot better, and this Rams offense is not. They are not. Seattle, to me, I kind of thought, they were weak. They were not necessarily going to be a tough test. And the Rams had already played them twice and had beat them once and knew what to expect with this team. With the Packers, you're facing an offense, to me, that's much better. And then from a defensive standpoint, the Cam Akers kind of went off against Seattle. I don't see Cam Akers going off against Green Bay. If Mike Pettin does what he did against Tennessee and takes away that running game, what are you going to do? Jared Goff isn't going to beat you with his legs, and if he has to beat you by throwing the ball against you, that is absolutely not going to happen in the cold of Lambeau. It is not. So I mean, you just do that right there. You take away the run on the Rams, and Jared Goff has to beat you throwing the ball. The game is over. The Rams won't score anything. They may score 3. I mean, and the last time I checked, that's not going to win you a football game because the Packers are not going to score 0. So
exactly, and I'm just looking at the Packers schedule. So since they blew the lead against the Colts, which. Mm-hmm. That was I put that one on LaFleur. That was some
I agree.
Bad coaching. You beat the Bears 41-25, and it wasn't that close. No. And here's the difference. The Packers didn't have to play full games against some of these teams, so they scored points at the end of the games.
Right.
Where the Rams defense had to play the entire game.
Right. They really had to scratch and fight for every single game.
Right.
Every single thing.
So 41-25 against the Bears, 30-16 the Eagles. Those they were up 30, I believe it was 30-3. Then Jalen Hurts came in and got 2 touchdowns.
Right.
31-24 to the Lions. That was a closer game. 24-16 against the Panthers. The offense did not play well that game.
No.
But then they beat the Titans 40-14.
40-14, yeah.
And then the Bears 35-16 the last week of the season.
Right.
You compare that to the Rams, who come on here.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been having to rely on their defense to really pull through on a lot of these games,
You,
and then
you
just offensive ingenuity from the head coach to try to put things together on that side
yeah.
of the
I mean,
football.
if you look at the Rams, beat the Seahawks 23-16, beat the Buccaneers 27-24, lost the 49ers 23-20, lost or beat the Cardinals 38-28. So they do give up points. There's three
Right.
straight games. Teams scored more than 20. 4 out of 5. They lost to the Jets 23-20. They beat the Patriots 24-3, which, again, Patriots offense isn't that good.
No, it's pretty putrid. Yeah.
You lost to the Seahawks 20-9.
Right.
Then you beat the Cardinals 18-7. So, yes, their defense didn't allow many points, but they had to play the whole game. They couldn't take guys out that were maybe dinged up a little bit and to get them some rest because they had to play the game because they weren't up by a lot.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I just want to debunk this same thing. I agree with you. It's like the Rams have a good defense, but it's not elite. And I think we need to stop talking about the Rams as if, they're the one seed. That conversation needs to end. The Packers are clearly a better team than the Rams across the board. Take all the entirety of the roster on both teams. The Packers are a better team. And we're not just saying that because we're Packers fans. It's the truth.
right.
They're just a
It's
better
the truth.
team. They're 13-3. They're the one seed. There's a reason why.
I mean, you look at this game on paper. I don't care what the defense looks like for the Rams.
Right.
You have a starting quarterback playing that has a broken thumb. I don't care if he had surgery 2 weeks ago. The thing's still broken.
Yeah, and if anybody thinks that Blake Bortles is going to come in and be the savior, there's a reason why he's, now on this team because he has not had success in the NFL.
And I mean, it
So,
it took them until today to say Goff was starting because if Wolford was cleared to play, he was gonna start.
right, right,
That tells you right now that Goff is not near where he needs to be to play in a game.
right. Either they don't have enough faith in him or they don't have enough faith with the injury.
Right.
So it's not good either way.
So, I do not think this is going to go bode well for the Rams offense. Their defense is going to play well. Their defense is going to slow down the Packers offense.
It is. I agree. Yep.
But and the other thing you need to look at, Cooper Kupp, he
Yeah.
is going to be limited. He has bursitis in one of his knees. He didn't finish the game last week.
Right.
Again, and people are
I
down.
think that's a more significant injury than even the Donald
And
injury.
I like this one a lot. Look, I
Oops.
get it. He has 16 touchdowns in his past 24
What's going
games.
on here?
But if you look closer at his usage, his expected total during that span,
Okay.
8.2.
There we go. Started playing the videos on the webpage I was on. Sorry. what were you saying there, Lone Wolf?
Oh, I was just saying, and you were kind of talking about a little bit with Cooper Kupp. That might even be more of a significant injury than the Donald one. If he can't really go, you're really limiting the targets that are available on the Rams side of the football to be able to throw to. Because yes, they have Taylor Higbee as their tight end, and they have some other pieces that people that they can throw to, but none of the Rams receivers scares me, much less so if Cooper Kupp is limited or doesn't play.
Right. Exactly. And here's I just while I'm looking at something that I think needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's supposed to be a little warmer now. But I still don't think because what time is kickoff? What time is kickoff for the game?
3:30 something, 3:30,
3:30.
3:35, something like that.
So it's gonna be probably low 30s.
Right.
Supposed to have snow showers with 10 to 15-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
Saturday in Green Bay. Okay, you have bursitis in a knee. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, a lot.
Right now, Aaron Donald's, oh, the rib feels great. The rib feels great. Okay. Yeah. You're practicing in Los Angeles.
Right. I'm sure it feels wonderful. Yeah.
You get to the low 30s and see how that rib feels after getting hit in it. Because I'll tell you right now, the Packers offensive linemen are going to be hitting you there with their hand.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt.
And this is at kickoff. We both know,
right?
You've been in that stadium when that sun goes down in that stadium. Come 4:30, it's going to get a lot colder as the game goes on.
Right. You're looking at probably high 20s because it says right here, Saturday night it says 25, a high of 25. So you're looking at 28, 29 throughout the second half of that ball game.
Right. And you got the wind blowing through there.
And
it's going to feel pretty cold.
Yeah. So not as cold as it was originally supposed to be, but this is why it's people talk about there's not really a home field advantage because there's no fans. There are going to be fans in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, about 6,000, I think.
Not as many, but the advantage the Packers have is the weather.
Right.
Is the weather. It's different playing in the cold. It is absolutely different. That's why whenever they talk about renovating Lambeau Field, we'll need to put a dome on it, and the Packers are like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No,
not doing it. Even though, interesting fact, when Vince Lombardi designed that stadium, the infrastructure is designed to have a complete second ring. They have that second ring up there right now, part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The stadium is designed to have a second ring, and the infrastructure can support a dome. So Vince Lombardi was thinking.
Interesting, yeah.
But it'll never happen.
No, it won't.
It'll never happen. At least in our lifetime. It'll never happen. So let's put a lid on the NFL right now because no, there's one more NFL story I want to talk about. And this is your team. There could be some trouble brewing in South Beach.
Okay, all right.
Because here's the thing. Earlier today, I read an article, or it may have been yesterday, that the players are not sold on Tua as their starting quarterback. Okay? No big deal. No big. Players have their opinions, right? Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yep.
You'd agree that players can have their own opinions on what, but whatever. The problem now exists that your man Flores has come out and said he believes in Tua. Tua is going to be the starter next year, and he's excited for Tua's second year. Possible issues brewing in South Beach.
Yep.
Because if the players don't believe in the quarterback, it doesn't matter what the coach thinks.
Well, here's the problem, and I'll defend Flores a little bit because he is my guy. I got to defend him. And what is he going to say in this situation, right? Like, management brought this guy in to be the future of the franchise, and if you don't say that you don't believe in him right now, I mean, what if Brian Flores came out and said, well, we'll just have to take it a step at a time, not sure, blah, 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 and he didn't really give him the vote of confidence? I think that'd be the wrong thing to say. I think he has to say that.
Well, here's what I would have. I wouldn't have said anything. I'd be like, you know what, I didn't. I don't know what. I haven't talked to those guys, so I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem though is the fact that you have this issue in the first place. Less so the issue with what he said, more so the issue with the players that are saying they don't have confidence in him. And look, you and I talked about this. We didn't believe in Tua either.
Right. Exactly. So and again, there's rumors that Miami might want to trade for Deshaun Watson.
Right, exactly.
So I'm telling you. And if that happens and Robert Salah turns out to be anything, my Jets are going to beat your Dolphins next year.
We got a rivalry going
That's
now.
right. That's right. We might have to make some bets next year.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right. So moving on to the other big story in sports, James Harden on the move to the New Jersey Nets. We knew this was coming. We knew this was coming. How much better does this make the Nets? Yeah, everybody's saying that they are now the team to beat in the East and that they can rival the Lakers.
Yeah. They're the Brooklyn Nets, by the way, not the New Jersey Nets.
Oh, Brooklyn, New Jersey. They're the Nets.
Yeah.
Okay. They're the Nets. So my issue here is you have James Harden, polarizing personality. You have KD, polarizing personality. You have Kyrie Irving, polarizing personality. Kyrie Irving's not even with the team. We don't know when he's going to be back, even though the GM has come out and said he's looking forward to being back. Where is he?
Yeah.
Where is he?
Where is he right now? Exactly. Yeah.
We don't know where Kyrie Irving is. Does it make that better? Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Yep.
Does it make them the best in the East? I don't think it does. I think this in the long run can hurt them. I think initially you're going to see them play out of their mind, but eventually those personalities are going to clash. And this is not when it gets tough. When it gets tough, I think that this is not going to be an overall positive thing for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. I look at this and you're right. I think the personalities are the problem. So that initial honeymoon period, everything's going great. It'll look good because you've got some stars and you can win games in the regular season. But, we talked about this before. Teams want to build for success in the postseason if they're serious about it. And I think that's what we talked about with the Bucks doing, winning in the postseason, not winning in the regular season. And the Nets right now, they're only 7-6, and that's early in the season. So we'll see. But I think you're right. I think at some point they're going to come up with a ton of regular season wins. Does this work in the postseason? No, all of these guys want to be the man, right?
Right.
And that's the real issue that it's going to come down to. That's going to be a problem over the course of the season. It's going to rear its ugly head in the playoffs. One of my keep 'em or leave 'ems was the Nets are serious title contenders. And I would have to leave that. I do not think they are a serious title contender. They're maybe a title contender, but not a serious one.
And I look at it this way, okay? So, you have, again, the GM saying Kyrie's looking forward to being back. Well, why isn't Kyrie Irving making that comment?
Yeah.
Then the GM comes out and makes a comment, Kyrie committed to gelling with Harden. Where's KD and Kyrie saying this?
Right.
Where are they saying this? That's my issue. We're not hearing it from the players. We're hearing it from the general manager. That's concerning.
If the players are going to do it, then it's them. And they're out there and they're saying it and they're posting it online and they're talking about it.
And everybody's saying, well, James Harden wanted to play with KD again. They were teammates in Oklahoma.
Right.
Okay, yes. And they were really good in Oklahoma. And if they stayed together, I bet you they would have eventually won a championship in Oklahoma. KD left. There's a reason he left. Why did he leave James Harden in the first place? If they wanted to play together so bad, they were together. Don't sit here and tell me that they wanted to play together so bad. They were already together. Something it was there between them that it didn't work in the long run. And like you said, they both want to be the man.
Yep.
And that's what's gonna come when push comes to shove. They all talk about, they're gonna have a hard time figuring out who takes that crucial shot. It's not gonna be who. They're each gonna say, "No, I'm taking that. No, I'm taking that. No, I'm taking the shot."
Right.
All three of them are gonna be like that. If Kyrie Irving even comes back.
That's the other thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would leave this. I'll leave it as they are the slam dunk in the East. I would say they're a title contender because, I mean, you look at the East, you'd have to say the Bucks are there. They're starting to finally gel and get their groove. I think the Sixers are going to be in the hunt. I think they're maybe a little bit behind eventually, and then there's the Nets. But again, I think this is the Houston Rockets 2.0. This is going to be Houston Rockets, where they're always in that, at the top of the Western Conference, but get bounced from the playoffs. I really think that is.
Yeah.
There's reports that James Harden is out of shape. He's lazy. And maybe that's because he just didn't want to be in Houston, but you're not going to change the way he is.
Yeah.
When he gets time off, he's going to go out. He's going to go party. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't, he's going to go to Vegas. He's going to go to the clubs. He's going to do that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those teams where I see there's a lot of stars that you put together in the hopes that, you get your own big three and it works out.
Right.
I think it works when stars complement each other and they know their roles and how it works. Why did Miami's big three work? Because those three knew they wanted to play together. They talked about playing together. You aren't hearing it from the players. You just made that point. Those guys, Bosh, Wade, LeBron, they talked about how they wanted to play. They were out there saying that they wanted to play with each other and talking about how they gelled and did all these things together. That worked. And they complemented each other offensively, defensively. They knew what they wanted to do on the basketball court. These guys aren't even talking about that. It's not going to gel. You've got three really talented guys who, they're like fourth in scoring right now in the league as a team. And they're always going to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll ever question that. But just because you score a lot of points week in and week out does not mean that you're going to win a championship.
I'll say this. Everybody's saying that the Houston Rockets, are a loser in this trade. I think this is a addition by subtraction. Yet we knew the Rockets weren't going to be very good this year,
right?
With or without James Harden.
Yeah.
Then get 6 draft picks from the Nets.
Right. That's a huge bounty of picks.
plus players. Plus, then they went and turned around and traded for Victor Oladipo.
Right.
I'm telling you what, in 2 to 3 years, this Rockets team is going to be good. Because I'm telling you what, they're not going to use all those draft picks. They're going to trade those draft picks for some players.
Yeah. They'll use some, but I mean, they have so much capital. I think in the end, I do not think they're the loser in this. I think they, it depends on how players develop and what they get for their draft picks, but they could come out and this could be better for them.
I think it's absolutely going to be better for them.
Yeah,
absolutely better for them. So it's going to be interesting. I've never been a big James Harden fan. In this turns, everybody, the Lakers used to be, going into the season, the Lakers were like the Empire.
Yeah.
Guess what? Guess who's the Empire now?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Everyone's been rooting against the Nets, and now the Lakers are the rebellion. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I know, and I know what you mean. Yeah, because people are like trying to say that the Nets are the team to beat, and they're ordaining the Nets as the team to beat. Yeah,
right. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Before we finish up the show, because we're at an hour 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've gone for quite a while here. Yep.
But what do you think the NBA is going to get through their entire season? They are having major COVID issues going around. There's talk about possibly a mini bubble, things like that. They're kind of being a little reactive instead of proactive with this. And it's getting concerning, for the NBA. COVID is starting to increase throughout a lot of organizations. So what are your thoughts, Lone Wolf? Do you think they can finish their season? Because like the NFL, yeah, they had to postpone some games, but they never had to cancel games or adjust their schedule. Is the NBA going to get all 72 games in, or they're going to have to modify their schedule this year?
They're absolutely going to have to modify their schedule this year. It worked for what they did in the bubble because why? They didn't have that many games left in the regular season. They got all the players to buy in pretty much for the postseason. They had their bubble. It worked. This year, for this new season, it's a totally different ball game, and you have all these different players going to all these different cities. That they're trying to do this. I think it was hard, and they said, well, we couldn't do a bubble for the whole season. And you're right. Whereas with the last season, they were completely proactive. They looked at it, they assessed it, they did the right thing. What baseball did not do, we criticized them so much, and they had it right. This time, they're not going to be able to get through the season unscathed. They're going to have to cancel games, move games. They may even have to cut out part of the season depending on how bad this gets, and reduce the amount of games you're talking about here. That is a possibility.
And I will say this: they did do something smart and only published the first half of the season schedule.
Right. Yep.
So they can modify it, which I think was a smart move. I don't like how they kind of aren't sure what they're going to do right now. They should already have a plan,
right?
And maybe do regional bubbles. A couple regional bubbles, like that. I don't know, but they need to be more proactive. Their handling of it is kind of looking, they came out of it like one of the best looking leagues, out of last season, and now they're looking at one of the worst leagues of handling it right now. Why is that though? Why is all of a sudden it's spiking? Like you even look at Major League Baseball, they started out really bad, but then I think the players understood, oh, okay, we have to watch what we're doing, things like that. And I'm just wondering, what these NBA players are doing. And I get you're human, you want to go out there, but we've all kind of adjusted our lifestyle right now until this thing's under control.
Yeah.
Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you shouldn't adjust your lifestyle so you don't get it and spread it.
Well, and your job is not like if you had COVID in some jobs, you could still work.
Right.
If you work behind a computer or something, you could still work. I mean, and maybe miss a day or two. But as a professional athlete, you can't play. You're not only forbidden from playing, but if you're ill, there's no way you can go out there and play effectively. So you're jeopardizing your team and what's going on with your team. You're directly impacting your own career if you do this. It's a huge deal if you can't play.
Right. So again, that's something to watch. We'll keep our eye on, see what happens there as we move forward. You go there, but we've come to that point, Lone Wolf.
Yes.
the Beavis comment of the week. We have
Oh man.
we have our first time two-time champion.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go. Okay.
And
There's a lot of good ones to choose from.
well, I'll tell you what, this was very, very hard because I didn't have a comment until yesterday.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that could be, but I'm like, it's not really like one of those, what are you
bad.
talking about type
Yeah,
comments.
yeah.
But this one, I was like, are you kidding me? This goes into what we were just talking about with the Nets.
Okay.
And
okay. So it's not Rex Ryan. Okay.
it's not Rex Ryan. Not Rex Ryan. Has nothing to do with the
Okay.
Browns. But what this person has said about Harden, Durant, and Irving, and they haven't even played a game yet together.
Oh boy.
So just listen.
Trade. This trio is better than the trio that I saw when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, and that's with Klay Thompson, and that's with Stephen Curry. Wow. It's better than the trio that I saw with LeBron James and D Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami. People are going to ask questions about how do you make it work. Here's how you make it work.
Holy crap.
This trio is better than the trio in Golden State, better than the trio in Miami. Now, this is just a comment, one of the comments he's made. He also made the comment that this is the most prolific trio in NBA history.
In NBA history?
In NBA history. And they haven't even played a game together. Who is this person, Lone Wolf?
I think this is our friend Jason Williams that was
It is.
before.
Yes. It is. It is. I couldn't believe what I heard.
And you can hear the surprise,
right.
The person that was asking the question. You can hear the surprise, like, oh, really? Like, I mean, and maybe some of that's for TV, whatever. But dear God, Jason Williams, I used to like to listen to him when he talked about college basketball, but this is ridiculous. How can you say in NBA history better than any other trio we've ever seen in NBA history? And you're right, they haven't even set foot on the court all together.
Right.
And played. No.
I'm telling you I'm telling you right now, there's no way Kyrie Irving is better than Klay Thompson or Steph Curry.
No.
You take, and I know we physically couldn't do it. Steph Curry, KD, and Klay Thompson, you put them up against KD, Harden, and Kyrie Irving?
Right.
I'm taking the first. I'm taking Golden State. You take, get this one. You're saying, and I get, right now, Russell Westbrook is probably past his prime. His career is probably winding down because of injuries and stuff. I would take Harden, KD, Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma over this trio.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And just think about what you said, Coach. You had Kevin Durant in both of those lists as a younger, less injured, less mileage player.
Right. But wait, there's other ones. How about, I don't know. I mean, I get it, you have Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, but there's some other trio.
LeBron at the height of his abilities.
That there was a trio, I think, in LA, another trio in LA, Magic, Kareem, James Worthy.
Right. Better than them. Better than Kareem and Magic and Worthy together. Better than them.
That's pretty good. And wait, There's
No, I mean,
there's one more.
Coach. You're putting
There's
way
one more.
too much into Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, he's just a horrible player.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Kyrie Irving's much better.
Kyrie Irving is way better. KD is way better than
Wait,
Kareem.
what about they're better than Jordan, Pippen, Rodman?
Yeah,
Or
that's what he said.
That's what
he said.
Or you could put Jordan, Pippen, Kerr, Jordan, Pippen, Bill Paxton.
Horace Grant. I mean, yeah.
Horace Grant. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They haven't played a game together. How can you say they're one of the best trios? And even if one of the comments was they're the most prolific. They haven't played together. Okay, well, you're gonna take.
You can't say that.
You're gonna take their individual stats and put them all together. Guess what? You can't take. Well, he averages 33. Durant averages 33. Curry Irving averages 25.
Right.
They're not gonna do that every game. They're not gonna do that all on the same team.
No.
That's absurd to sit there and say, oh, because they average these over their course of their career, that's what they're going to do when they're on the same team. There's not enough shots in a game for them to do that.
No. I think, there were so many comments that we've had in this category over the course of the time that we've been doing it. And some of them, we laugh about them, the Ryan comment and Dan Orlovsky's comment, and, even Jason Williams' earlier comment, and some of them, the Trevor Lawrence save football and all this stuff. I don't know about you, Coach. This one takes the cake to me as the worst comment we've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far one of what are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about? They need to play together and win something before
every other trio that you ever stack them up against has won NBA titles.
Well, except for Oklahoma City.
Well, except for Oklahoma City.
But they were in the
what I'm saying there is, I mean, you can I guess you could argue that they aren't as good or whatever you want to do, but you're talking about a lot of those other teams and those other trios. They have.
I mean, here's another trio, and people probably don't even count this as a trio because it's more of the Kobe and Shaq show. But that was really Kobe, Shaq, and Gasol.
Yeah.
With the Lakers. I mean, Gasol was kind of a forgotten man on those teams.
Mm-hmm.
But that's technically a trio. I would take Paul Gasol in his prime over Kyrie Irving. I'm sorry. I would.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing with Kyrie Irving. He is selfish. He is self-centered. Look what he did in Boston. Boston couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Right. I mean, and Boston was trying to sit there and put together a title, and they couldn't do it with him there because of how he is.
Right.
And he got out of Cleveland, same thing. I mean, it was like, yes, he played great one time in the playoffs in Cleveland, and he played well other than that, but there was one year where he played really great in the playoffs, but Kyrie, he's come. Here's LeBron's compliment. He's going to be so great and blah, blah. Everything that happened, it went to his head. And now he thinks he's one of the greatest players on the planet.
Right. Exactly. And so I cannot believe this. And I agree. There's a comment on here that if we did a kind of a joking comment, Stephen A. Smith came out and said Kyrie Irving should just retire and walk away from basketball until he's ready to come back and play. I agree. If you, and nobody knows why he walked away. They're speculating because what happened, and he's dealing with the social stuff and things like that. That's fine. You want to take on that stuff? That's fine. But then step away from the game.
Right. That's your prerogative. Go ahead and do it then. Yeah.
Right. So
which is funny. Which is funny because if he actually did that, that makes this comment even worse.
I
Because
know.
then there wouldn't then be a trio in the first place.
Right.
I mean, I'm almost beside myself with this comment because it's so dumb to say something like that where you are opening yourself up to
Richard Jefferson, Paul Pierce, and
Well, Lone Wolf, I'm sorry to cut you off. We
yeah.
we are almost at our exceeded time limit for our.
Okay, all right, no problem.
So thank you everybody for listening. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, good night.
Night.